Hello class. In this week's lab, we will be learning how to use PHP to access MySQL and also to read data from the MySQL database and write data to the MySQL database and update records in the MySQL database. We'll also be incorporating the delete function, and all of this will pretty much involve your user profile. So we'll be modifying those pages. And yeah, finally, we will be implementing a data layer class to do all of this. So with that said, let's just get started. All right, class. So this week, lab is going to cover how to do this pretty simple data editing form. Okay, so this is a Lab 7. This is your pretty much a list of all the profiles within your all of the profiles. So what we're gonna be doing in this lab is pretty much replicating this functionality. So when you go to this page, you should be able to just select this a profile, and then you can go and edit the user profile. Well, then incorporate an image upload, right? So pretty much upload whatever you want into this, right? Save, and that should do that. And yeah, okay. So I could do this. Well, there's a bug there. But yeah, it should work. I'm not sure why I did not capture that. That's weird. Okay. But yeah, so if I was to change like the middle name to this, save. Okay. Interesting. But yeah, I should be able to change the address here. Well, the email addresses, I should be able to delete one, right? And I should be able to add one, just like that. And then get out of this page. I can add phone numbers. Right, so right, and then I can just delete it after I do that. Right, so and then addresses as well. New address, and make that a work address, just like that. And should be able to delete it just like that too. All right, so yeah, pretty much that's it. You change the roles. So I can go new role, save, another administrator. Now, ideally, you don't want to be able to do this, so you should put some logic in there saying that you can't do that, right? Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, but we'll be going through how to do this and how you should make this work. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to go out to our lab, right? So it'd be like Lab 7, right? And then we want to pretty much download this file that came with it. This is the database file, and when you open it up, right, go to my workbench, right, and then just open it up. Connect to your local host, of course, and then you want to open that file up. And this script is located here, so you can just put it right here. Open that up. Right, so this is the migration script for the tables I wanted you to create. So, so basically, well, we want to call this site 2. Go site 2, just like that. If you look down on the bottom here, you should see that that's the stuff that I'm typing in. So that should actually place all. Okay, so this is site 2. All right, so I'm gonna run this. So I'll just go execute. And what this does, if I refresh my schemas, because I already have a table site in there, if I refresh my schemas, all of the stuff will be created. So, and then again, we are inserting some seed data down here. So you can go select, and you'll have all the data in there. Okay, just like that. You can save this if you want, if you don't have to. Once you save this, now the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this new view, right? So this view is going to combine some stuff together. So the easiest way for me to do this is to do this. I'll just copy it over here. So because I'm connected to the site 2, I want to do a new SQL file, and this so basically what I want to do now is create a view that essentially okay, so what I really want to do here is create a new view. So I want to go create view user as here. I want to select multiple rows and multiple items into this user object. So okay, so what you want to do is select star from user join. Now you want to actually do backticks on the user. Since that table is actually a system table, you want to actually just do user with backticks. That means that's your current table's user, and then you can go. You can join user role. Here you can go U. This is so that we can actually shorten the names. The user. Well, we want ID user, right? Equals dot ID user. So this joins it to the table based on the ID user. Okay. And then the next thing will be to join the roles into this. Dot role. ID role equals r.id role. Okay, so when we execute this, you kind of have to be specific about it. So, so how do we do this? It doesn't like duplicate roles, right? So, user, okay. You are the user role user role you are the role, and then we want to get the username. So when we look at these tables, we want only certain things from each of these tables, right? So we don't really need the so because this user role is really just a joining table, we just go you are dot star. And then we're capturing both the user ID and then the role ID and the user role ID. Okay, so we have all of that in this one, right? And then the next thing we want to do is we want to get everything from the user. So we just want to do username, right? And then you dot last login, then you dot active, and then r dot role description as role description, right? And then name r.name as role. Okay, so if we execute this, we've created a view. So let's say from down here we'll say select star from view user, just like that. Okay, and then if we execute it, now we won't be able to create it again, but we can go alter view user, and that would let us modify this top one. So far we have the ID user, user role, and then the last login, and active, admin of a site, that's the role description and the role, right? So we have these three things already. All right. No, well, these things already. So what's the other useful thing? The profile. So join profile p on what u dot ID user equals p dot ID user. Just like that. Oh, so P, what was that? First name? So as you can see here, should have that first name in there. Oh, this first name doesn't exist. Oh, sorry. So if I do execute now I should get the first name, and then same thing for last name. Last name has last name, right? And then well, I'll just leave it the same way as it was before. That way it's consistent. Now you can pretty much name these anything you want, but you don't need to do the as. I think you should just leave the column as it is. You can do it just like this, right? And then p dot middle name, p dot date of birth, p dot picture, and then p dot color, and then p dot about. Just like that. We'll execute it. We have all of this information. Okay. So I think that should be good enough for us to start our profile. Again, we have this view in here now. So if you do refresh, you'll have this view inside your Site2 table here, and that should get us started. Okay. Okay, so the next step here, we're gonna go and open up our demo site. Now, go open up the demo site in Visual Studio Code. Okay, should load it right here. Now you can see that it's open up here. Okay, so here's my template page. Alright, so you can see that I created a config here. Now, as you can see from the last lab, well, yeah, from Lab 5, we I extracted the settings into this lab here. Okay. Now, and because I did so, right, this demo site has all of my database code, right, and also the basically the username, password, with the different basically the different arrays, with the different links to my sub pages, right, and then the external libraries here, okay, and then all of this other stuff. Alright, so I basically extracted all my settings into this config PHP. Now, ideally, when you do it, and when you go to the server, you want to keep this file outside of your actual configuration, and this should reside somewhere along here. So, when I deploy it to the server, this config file actually happens to be yeah. So when this config file, right, should reside in outside of my public HTML. So if I go one level up, right, it should be in the secure and within this PHP, the secure PHP. And then when you actually bring in the file, now you want to get rid of it when you actually go out to the server and delete that, right? But when you actually go into a template, you actually want to go in and do something like this, and that should bring in that config file. Alright, so that's what you should do when you're to make the site secure. That's what you should do. Alright, and that's just convention. You don't want your configuration to be the public HTML because somebody can read it. Although this is a PHP file, so ideally they should not people should not have access to it, but that's besides the point. All right, so for security reasons, you want to actually do the upload to the config outside of this, and then just try to path into that from the server side. All right, with that said, make sure that this is configured properly, and you see my ICS325SU20DM. That's my that's actually my site, right? My demo site. Okay, and then here I have all the external libraries, like I said, all the links here. And when I go to my templates PHP, I'm just pulling the stuff in to build my page, right? So as you can see, I'm displaying the titles here, adding the external references. These libraries are within my config file, right? And then I'm also pulling in all of the stuff in the header, all of the images, right? And this is the profile and the image and all the stuff in the header. Now, this display menu just lists out all my menu items. Alright, so as you can see, I'm actually looping through this menu items and in my config and just displaying out the menu, right? And then yep. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then let's see, click accordion. So this is pretty much the JavaScript, well, not the JavaScript, but the CSS to actually do the carry down stuff and displaying the menus as well. And then yeah, finally you show the footers and the and I added this function upload picture in this my template, so that I can actually do uploads across my entire site. Now you can put this inside like another functionality, but I decided to put it in here, so you can do that too. Okay, so yeah. Yep. So okay, we can do that, and then again we'll go out to our demo site, So here we are on our demo site. So all you see here when I upload Lab7, it'll say this is Lab7, just because that's what I have in here. So this is Lab7, right? So when I should go and load my page, it'll say this is Lab7, just like that. All right. So let's configure this a little bit better. Just go like this. Don't need to be all that fancy. Again, all we're doing here is just pretty much loading the page. So let's do it this way. That way you guys can see everything. So here, by using the class paradigm, I can pretty much just go require the template, create a new template, and then assign the header to the header subtitle, which is this field right here, and then assign the title, which is the title up on the top here. Well, when you create a new tab with this site, it will pretty much be the title up here. Finally, it's called display to show the entire page. Now, assigning content is basically just this portion right in the middle here. Well, this entire section here is the content. So whatever I assign to this content variable will show up right in the middle here. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, all right. So the next piece to this is to really create the profile itself. So in order to do that, we're going to do some database queries. So the very first thing you do when you try to connect to a database is you actually want to create a database access layer. So let's get rid of all this and we'll start from scratch, right? Okay. So in a database access layer, you really want to say, we want to pull in the configuration. So we go require, because our database settings are in that, right? So once config.php, and because we required the config.php, everything that we have stored was inside this config file should show up in there. Okay, but that's already right. Right, we go we use this require once because if you try to pull in duplicate code, then you'll run into some conflicts, right? So the require once will only internally in PHP will check to make sure that it's not multiple files that you're trying to pull in, right? So really, if you have this require once, then it'll include the page once. If you have another page that includes this database file, then and also this config file, then it won't create a conflict. But if you don't have this require once, then you have a conflict. All right. All right. So first we require the config. All right. So in the config. So the next step is to pretty much create the username and password. Right. So here we have protected user, protected password, protected DB, and here we want to call our DB site 2. Okay, protected CN. Now we're gonna pull in our basically our standard set and get methods. Okay. Right, so this is the standard set and get methods. We're gonna pull that in and then save this. Keep saving as you can. Alright, so first, after we do that, we want to start on. Oh, let me create a class first. Sorry. Class database, right? So that. Okay, so you create a class first, declare your variables, and then yeah, right. Okay, just like this. In your constructor, you can. Here, this is our local instance of the configuration, right? Okay, so we're creating a local instance of the configuration. Alright, so here we can just go public construct, right? We can declare a new configuration here. And we're assigning the password equal to the user, the configuration password, the user, and DB password. Okay, so as you can see, in our database, we'll have a local copy of whatever's in the configuration. Okay. Again, we could save a copy of this config as this config. Oh. So here we're storing this config class within the protected config here. Okay, so we can pull this anytime we want. Alright, so there's that. And then the next step we're going to do is we're going to do a function. And this will create a new connection. So here we can go new, let's go live. So here we're creating an instance of a connection. Okay, our database is, again in our configuration, our database would be site 2, right? But the connection itself, but the server itself is going to be localhost. This is true on the localhost here, and also on the server itself. Okay. Then you just want to go. So this, and then you want to go user, right? Because we're oh. modify it like this. Okay, so we're storing this in this stuff here. So here we just go this user, and then this pass, and then this TV, just like that. So this should create a new connection. And then we want to check our connection. If con, you'll get error. So this simply checks to see if there's any error connections. If there are to the connection, if there is, then we just want to say failed to connect to. Now this is purely for troubleshooting purposes, right? So in your production database, you want to actually just like that. Okay. Again, if you follow my the stuff down below here, you'll see exactly what I'm typing on. Okay, and then finally we just return this. We're gonna set the current connection equals this, and then we're gonna return it. That way we have an object pointing to this connection when we create a new connection. So we'll be using this connection as we progress, right? So in this database layer, we also want to create another helper function. Let's say we want to get all the contents on an array, right? So we go public function. Well, all the results of a query, right? So we can say, hey, I want to query all the results into an array using one call, and having to, without configuring anything, all I have to do is pass in a query, right? So all you would do now is you would say, hey, cn equals this cn. Okay, so considering that alright, so if the query is blank, then we're just gonna return nothing, right? We're gonna say return error query cannot be blank. Let's say that. Okay, return query cannot be blank. Okay. Otherwise, let's say result equals now, because we declare this connection and this new connection as a CN, if we assign it to a variable, we can pretty much do this outside of this too. You don't really necessarily have to use this function, but because we're doing this, we're building in checks to make sure that we don't show the user anything they don't want to see, right? Again, we just want to see. We just want to retrieve everything inside. So this is a global variable. This pretty much resolves to you passing something into this MySQL fetch all to retrieve whatever variables you have. I mean, whatever the result set is, and basically returns as either a associative array or a numerical array. Here we want to get the associative array. So the following is going to go. We're going to free this result. Alright. You always want to free it up because you'll that way you don't hog the memory, okay? And then finally we return the array because you'll notice a significant slowdown if you don't do this free result, right? Because PHP just can't handle it, right? And the next step, we'll just have to we just want to duplicate this. We want to say we want to just a single array, right? The query is pretty much the same. All we really have to change here is fetch array, right? And then again, we're freeing the results. So this will return one row, right? The other one returns all the result. This will return just one row, okay? And we have our uses for that. And finally, we just want to have a close connection. Function. Now this should always be called to upon using the database, right? CN. And finally, outside of this class, we want to declare a variable db equals new database. So all we have to do now is include this file, and we'll have access to this variable, and this variable cn equals db new connection. Now the reason for doing this is that as soon as we include this db file within our code, it instantiates a brand new class, and then the brand new database class, and then it creates a connection right away. So we don't even have to declare this within our class, right? Within the file that we're using this in. So we'll go back to Lab7. We'll say require once. And then we'll say, again, you want to use forward slashes because PHP will resolve it, but if you don't use forward slashes, when you put it to the server, and it's a Linux system, you're going to have some issues, okay? So you can say, database.php, just like that. So what does this mean? This means I can actually go in and directly use my database as soon as so I can just say SQL, right? select star from view user. Now this is the view that we created earlier, right? So it would be this view right here. Alright, so we're selecting from this view here. Okay, so what I'm expecting when I do the selection, right, would be this data here. Okay. So without any, so this is what I want, the whole data set to come back. So here we don't really care about, yeah, here we really don't care about filtering the data, right? So we just want everything to come back. So cn equals. Now again, I don't have to declare the cn because I've already declared it here. Okay, so it's already, I've already created new connections. So all I have to do here is go db and then get all. And then we're just going to call the SQL function, the SQL that we implemented up here. Alright. And then if I go in and I say for each, this is results. Sorry. So I go for each results, right? Results as are, right? And do something like this and go echo. I can go print r. Right, so if I do this, I will echo all the results. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when we do that. Alright. Oh. The spelling. Right, so do that again. Fail to update attribute, public function, get rename, return. Lab 8, line 8. Results was DB. Okay, let's see this. Attribute echo updated. So we actually, before we do that, we actually want to go something like this. Ob start.
Hey, did you see on Facebook?
What's that?
Shane's sister's husband died.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
I don't know what happened. They just said, she just posted he's no longer here, but
Okay, so all right, so stupid me, I forgot the PHP up here. That would do it. All right, so here we got failed to update pass. Huh? No connection. Not find property pass. Oh, it's password. Alright, so we should be able to do this. Alright, so as you can see, we're retrieving everything in here, right? So if I actually go like this. Alright, so we're retrieving all of these different user profiles, right? So you can see that no, it's all in what it is doing is that it is all pretty much in an array. So because we print R, we're printing the array. So here, just like all the other examples we had before, we can actually use this array to generate an interface. Okay, so how does that happen? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Just like what we've been doing all semester. We just want to construct pretty much a table out of this, right? So because this is just going to be a selected list, a table is probably the most optimal way. You could actually go with like you could actually go with like the other paradigm of doing divs and stuff like that, but the most optimal way would probably be a table. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to close this PHP statement, right? And then we're going to open up a PHP statement down here. So this encapsulates all of our outputs into this region right here. So the next thing we're going to do is going to go table, right? Well, table dot table now the reason we're doing this is pretty much using Bootstrap to do like the and then alright, so here we create a table with a class, table border, table hover, right? Just like that. And then next we want to create a t-head dot t-head dark. We want the header to be a little bit darker, and then tr, oops, tr to th, alright, and then the first one will be id, okay, and then tr, we actually want to do this. And here we actually want to do a th, and we call that picture. Th, I'm gonna say first name. Again, we're just matching up the fields that we have here, but we don't necessarily have to go with every single one of them. We only want to capture a few of them. We include all that other stuff because we're going to be using it later. Okay, so page. If you notice, I'm typing is the th, right? Well, with Emmet, you can pretty much just get away with that, and it will actually it'll actually print that automatically, complete the HTML code for you. So if I go th, right, all I have to do is th and enter, and that's what it prints it out right there for you. So roll. So this will be our header columns, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do. Now, if I actually refresh the page, this is what I get. So we're getting this, right? Now this won't print out anything because it's no longer PHP code. But if I move this down to here and save it, then we'll get our whole array below it, alright? So, because we want it to generate it that way, alright? So, now we can go to body, just like that, and then we can go, tr. Well, tr, just like that. Okay, so this will create our repetitive row, right? So, because this creates the repetitive row, we can put it on the bottom here, outside of our, for each loop. And then we don't do another PHP call here, well, a PHP bracket here, because it's that, and then we're just going to close our body down here, right? But before we do that, we need this table end tag here, right? Just like that. So this loop will exist within our PHP and within our table, just like that. But it won't show up right, of course, because we have to go through each of these and pretty much print out the inside of the table. So how do we do that? Well, it's pretty simple, right? It's just running out, echoing out the rows of each, right? So since we have a wrapped in tr, all we have to do is echo out the TDs, well, table columns. So echo TD, right? This will be the first one. So here we're trying to get the ID, right? So we'll just say R ID, right? But we want to be able to access this outside of this table when we actually click on it. We want to be able to access it, so we want to put it inside something that we can actually access through JavaScript. So here we're going to wrap it into a span, right? And we're going to specify that as an ID equals this, right? Okay, and then we're going to say R the user, right? ID equals, let's call this user ID. Right, so we're gonna call it user ID, right? And then within this, we actually want to say value, right? The user. So this will print out the user ID within our span. Okay. So what does that do? What? Instead of having the entire array, well, let's keep this here, so that we actually know what we are printing out. Oh. So when we do this, oh, my fault. So when we do this, we should actually see the ID here, right? And it's doing it all in one row like this because we're printing out multiple rows of the same thing for each row, right? So maybe that's not the best approach. The best approach would be to wrap the TRs within here. Okay, so we can go echo, right, and then we'll go TR, just like that. And you see this is a lot of trial error, right? So I can actually go like this. Just like that. So if I go like that, I would actually end up with each single row having its own. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Alright, so this should have been table bordered, table hover. Okay. So just like that. Alright. Now we can finally now the next step is just to pretty much do all of the columns, right? Now if you yeah, I just have a quick shortcut to actually duplicate these rows, but you can Control C, Control V, right? So if you feel inclined to, you can actually do that as well. Now we don't need these bands anymore, so let's get rid of that. Right? Let's get rid of all this. We don't need spans anymore, so we can get rid of the span. The second thing will be image, right? So we want to show the picture of the user. So we can go image, right? And then class equals, well, profile image, right? Because I actually have a profile image class in my classes. Okay, and then source equals now I could go images, right? It depends on where you want to store your images, right? So what I've done ahead of time is actually create this profile folder, and then I have the pictures in here. So my path would just be profile and pictures. Now you can pretty much put it anywhere you want, right? But with that said, you also have to know where you're gonna put it in. So again, the picture is just a JPEG picture. I stored this in the database that way, right? And then just like that, and then go Alt equals profile picture, or we can actually just echo this back out, right? Just say Alt equals profile picture, and then close out the image tag, right? And TD. So what does that do? Well, let's refresh it. So as you can see, my images are being rendered right here, right? So it depends on how many profiles I have in here, but it actually renders all the pictures. Okay, so there's something goofy going there. Why is there an extra? Oh, because we didn't close this. yeah, it's pretty okay. Just like that. So we have this working, right? So each of this is a profile, okay? Again, our image is all lined up, so all we have to do now is, again, we can do Control D here, copy this, paste it underneath, right? And then, well, this is simple text, so we don't need any of this, right? We just want to echo out the actual user. So instead of the user, here we just need first name, right? Now remember that this has to correlate with what's in your stuff, right? So what is first name? Well, first name is this, right? The last name is this, okay? So we got the first name, okay? Last name. Again, we want first name, last name, and then what about the age? Let's see what's in my view, right? Do I have an age here? I have a date of birth. But what's my age? Well, I don't have an age, right? So I have to modify this to calculate the age. So in order to calculate the age, what do? Right, so if I look at view user here, how would I calculate the age? So it would be using this date of birth field, right? But we can go P, right? And then, So again, you have to actually do a little bit of manipulation within MySQL to actually do this, but we can go 2 days. So P dot 2 days. Right, and then let's get the current date, which is current date, and in MySQL is current date. So the current dates, right? So 2 days, the current date, okay, minus 2 days. So this will convert minus the P date of birth. And then we want to divide by 365. Alright, so if we divide that by 365, we'll go as age, right? So here, what we're doing here is we're converting the days, the current date to days, right? The number of days, and then we're subtracting the date of birth of the days of the date of birth, right? And then we're going to divide that by 365 to get the total days. All right, so well, total years. So let's do that. Let's execute this, and what did we get? So the age is 20.43, right? But we actually want it as an integer. So and say we can cast this to an integer. We can do it in the back end here, or we can actually do it in the front end. It really doesn't matter. But sign. Well, unsigned is pretty much an integer, right? Well, you can just go int 2. Signed or unsigned, it doesn't really matter, right? So we just go execute here. And what do we have? Right, we actually have the actual date. Okay. Alright, so that rounds it up to the current days by casting as an int. Well, that rounds it up to like the highest age, right? Oh. Okay, so with that, we can go back to our code and say first name and age, right? Because our output here is age, okay? So we're matching it to the database, it should be age. And then go, this one should be username. And this one should be role. Okay, so I called it role in here, right? Yes, role. Okay. So by doing that, what do we have now? Alright, so we have all of this. Okay. Alright, so that works, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, our table's pretty nicely formed now. We have the borders, and every time we hover here, we can actually see it. Now we have to put in some fancy JavaScript stuff to make it click, right? So, and we can get rid of this array since we don't really need all of that. And once we clean that up, our page should look pretty neat, just like that, right? So it's extensible because it's a Bootstrap theme, right? So just like that, you can click on any of these, and it should take you to the right page. But in order to have that work, we need to actually write some JavaScript to actually do the click. So with JavaScript, it's pretty straightforward, right? So you can go PHP here, and then go script, right? We can put the script pretty much anywhere, but I usually do it at the end of the page, right? Script. So this will take us into our JavaScript, right? So, and here we're going to use some jQuery because it's just a lot easier, right? So users, tr. This is saying go to the user table here. I'm gonna do this. ID equals users, right? And then I'm gonna say, yeah, we need the ID here so we can actually retrieve the users. Okay, so users click, right? So when we click, it actually, or you can go on click. On. And then there's multiple ways to do this, but But this is pretty much the standard. So you can go like this. And then you can go open curly braces, and boom, boom, boom. Just like that. So now, in jQuery, this would say, on click, execute this function here. Now this is a shorthand for just saying function. You gotta actually write it out like this. Function, just like that, right? But the shorthand is the arrow pointed right here. Okay? So that's the shorthand version of it. And then you say, how do I know what was clicked? Well, there's some, it's pretty robust, but you can actually go and try to find the current row that was clicked. So you can say current row equals this, meaning the object that was clicked, right? We want to find the closest TR, which is the current row, right? So we're finding the closest row. Then finally, we only have one span element in there, so we want to find the closest span element, and we want to find the ID of that. Well, we want to find the text of that current row. Dot find. So we want to find TD in the span of it, right? So in this case, we want to find the text within that span, right? And then basically, after we do that, we go window dot location equals profile ID equals plus whatever ID we found. So this will take us to the profile subdirectory, to the index page, and we're gonna seed it with the ID equals whatever row we clicked on. So what does this do? All right, we'll refresh our page. So what's going on, right? So what happened is that when we click here, it's not it doing it. Oh, because we have the wrong thing here. It's not user, it's users, right? Right, so if I refresh this, it should work now. Right, so again, because we says users tr click, it goes into this function, and then it's gonna find the closest tr, right? And keep going. Right, so because we found the closest tr, it's gonna look at the span here and find the closest span and set the ID. As you can see, the ID still equals blank. Why is that? Find TD span. Okay, so we're trying to find the ID here, but it's not locating the ID. Why is that? Well, we'll have to go back in our code and see what's going on, right? So profile ID equals ID here. So the ID should be whatever the span here is, right? Span user ID ID equals user ID. Alright, so it seems like jQuery doesn't like this open bracket. JavaScript doesn't like this. The current version of JavaScript doesn't like this open bracket, so we have to actually specify the function. Right. Now I'm curious to see if this actually works. If I go just click, but let's just not worry about that. But we go like this. Now again, we refresh the page, right? And then if we click here, it'll actually take us to the profile page. Okay, so that makes sense. Alright, so now you have this working. Now you won't have that pretty page that we have there. But so here what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna wipe this up. Because alright, so we'll start from the bottom. Alright. And the profile DAL, I'm gonna wipe that out too. Alright, so the next step, so as you can see, I will end up in the profile page. Right, it's blank right now because I haven't really instantialized anything, right? So in my index profile page, what I'm going to do here is, now you could do this another way. You can have this profile page within the labs, but your links will be a little bit different, right? But I decided to put it inside this inside this profile folder because all of these actually go along with it. Okay, so in your index, you actually want to create a new page that actually reflects it. So again, you want to require once. You can pretty much take the standard from any one of these other labs, right? So you can go to Lab3 or something like that, right? Or even your Lab7, okay? You can probably go like this. Just like that. Copy all that, paste it in here, right? Template, database, and then because it's within the subdirectory, this should all work, okay? But we actually want to get rid of the database. Template, okay? And then, yeah. Header equals, I'm going to use this as user profile. Alright. The title, the subtitle we're going to set to user profile. With the page we're going to set to user profile. Okay. So this should actually get you started. Alright, so template, and then you will set the ID. An ID, you want to declare an ID variable here, but you want to set it to the get variable. You can go get or you can go request, right? And then request ID. ID, right? So what does that do? Well, the OB start here, and then result equals OB get clean down here. So whatever we put in between here should show up on the page. So we can go echo user ID equals dot ID. So remember, this at suppresses whatever errors we have, right? So we can go if the set ID, and then we do this. We echo the user ID, right? Otherwise, we're gonna say echo invalid. This basically says, oh, whatever ID you put in is wrong, and we're not gonna render anything because it's a wrong ID. It doesn't exist. Okay. All right. So since we have this, then we actually go down here and say, go back to our page. Let's click on it again. Oh, what do we have? Oh, yeah. We didn't render the page, did we? Okay, so since result equals OB that get clean, we go page equals result. Right? Oh, page content. You can't forget that, right? And then we'll say page display. Right, and now let's go refresh. There you go. So because we passed in the ID again, we go 8, the user ID will be 8. We go 7, the user ID will be 7. Okay. So that's pretty straightforward, right? We go user ID 1, and then Bruce, right? Just like that. Right. So, that's what we got now. Okay. So, because we're able to access the details of the... Well, we're not able to access the details of the user yet because... well, for obvious reasons, right? We're not pulling anything from the database. We're simply passing the ID from one page to the other through the use of query strings, right? Later on, we're going to be passing through sessions as a more secure mechanism, but for now, we're just going to pass it through the request string, which is, of course, the URL, right? So again, when I click here, because of my code in my previous page, right, Lab7 here, I'm appending it to the request string here. All I have to do is, when I press that, I would, right, when I press that, I pretty much navigate to this index page in the profile because that's where it's pointing to. Profile, index. I don't have to specify the index.php because it is the root of the directory, so it automatically resolves. Right, and then it just renders the page based on that because this ID is passed it over, right? Now I could have called that variable anything I wanted to, but for convention I just use ID. And again, when I do that, it resolves the ID. So for 1, for 7, right? Again, so you're seeing duplicates here because I have 2 rows assigned to this first user. Okay, this just happens to be me, but this first user has 2 rows. That's why you're seeing here. Now you could easily make this not display this way. You just display the first one with the rows as combine the rows together. You know, you could do that, but that's another mechanism that we don't want to dive into. You could actually do that. But yeah, so clicking on this first user, we actually get taken to this page where user ID equals 1. Okay, so again, that's the logic behind that. Now, we want to create another thing here. We want to create a profile database access methods that we can use across every single one of our all of these other profile edit pages, right? And to do that, it's fairly straightforward, but to do that, we'll have to create a new class. Okay, this class we'll just call profile DAL. Okay, so again, we're gonna need in this class the database methods. So we just go require once. right? And then want the database, right? So we're going to require the database. We're going to call this class DAL just for short, right? Or no, I'll call it profile DAL because ideally we're gonna do a lot more with the site, right? So we're gonna have like multiple different things that we're calling from. This is specific just to the profile. So in the profile we'll have protected profile. That's the actual profile table we will be mapping to, right? Then next we're gonna have protected user. That's the user table we'll be mapping to, and then protected email. So as you can see in this construct that we have in our database, each of this can be a separate entity, right? So in our tables, we have address, email, phone, profile, role, user, and user role. So each of these can be a table. Well, an object within our database. Now, another thing we could do is extrapolate it so that each of these are a class, right? With the different properties of it. But that's a little bit more confusing when you think about it. So what we're going to do here is because it'll be a list of classes. Yeah, a list of different elements. So that might actually be a good idea. So you could definitely go and say, you know, each of these classes is class email, right? And then you go class user, okay, class profile, class you have a table, and then you have protected ID, right? So you can break it down like that, but we're gonna simplify this, okay? So each of these actually have an ID address, ID user, and then stuff like that. So these are different entities, and they all look different. I mean, you can certainly make it into one master class and then derive from it and do certain things to it, but each of these are going to be unique, and we're just going to ignore that. We're going to, I mean, this will be the next step of doing this, but it's going to introduce way too many elements that you might not find, well, they'll just complicate things even more for you. Okay, the pattern would be to create an object for every table, right? But here we're just going to simplify it just by resolving the tables into these variables. Okay, so we're going to do that. Alright, so I got address, email, phone, profile, user, role. Okay. Is that right? So here we're gonna say we're gonna want to pull in all the rows as well, because if this is the user role and this is all the roles, right? One's a user role, one's all the roles, one's profile, user, email, address, phone. Okay, just like the tables here. Right, well, that makes sense. Alright, so I'm gonna do that. Well, we're gonna maintain a connection too. And we're also gonna maintain a database in this class. Okay. Right. Okay, so again, we're just gonna bring in our basic set and get methods. Okay. This will automatically allow us to set and get these different components. And then we're gonna go do a public. If you don't know where I'm getting this from, it's just from your previous labs, right? So you can pretty much copy this and paste it right in from your previous labs. Function. In our constructor, well, the first thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna create a method to initialize our calls, right? So we're gonna say public function, right? Public public function, right? Load profile. Here we're just gonna load the profile so that it actually loads whatever the ID that we're passing in. It's gonna go in and load every one of our tables up there. So we can say this cn, because we're gonna assign this to our database, right? Equals this db new connection. Now, you might be wondering where this DB is coming from, right? So, before we even do this, we need a constructor. Right, so we can do a function construct. It's public if we don't specify, so construct ID equals 0. Set ID default to 0. Okay. And then this db equals new Alright, so in a constructor we're going to create a new database object, right? And then if the ID is greater than 0, right, Then we're gonna call our function load profile. So let's say profile equals, well, let's say this profile we'll just go this load profile. Otherwise, we're not going to initialize it. Okay? Just like that. Then we'll say, yep. Alright, so because of this, we pretty much create a new instance of, as soon as we instantiate the profile DAL, we're going to create a brand new instance of the database, right? And then we're going to create a new connection, right? So if you look at the database functionality, the constructor itself creates a new configuration and then does this. So here we're going to create a new database. Right, so DBs are created, and then the connection is created already. So that's why we can actually go directly to this. Well, anyways. Okay, so we pulled in the database, create a new database. Alright, and then finally we're gonna load this profile. Okay. So in this profile, we're going to create a new connection using this database. Okay. So if we don't provide an ID, it will never go into this. Okay. So in order to load the profile, we just need a couple of select statements. All right. So we can say SQL equals select star user where ID user equals plus ID. Well, not plus, but that. So here we're gonna load whatever's an ID, and then this, right? User equals this db dot get already. Because there should only be, because ID is unique, there should only be one ID per user, right? So we're sorry. SQL. We'll pass it in. Alright, so now that we loaded the user into this profile, right? I'm gonna save that. And then Alright, so here we load the profile. Okay. Now we can actually replicate these. So here we just say, hey, this one we want to load the profile of the user. This db get array, and then we'll set the profile equal this. Alright. Address. And then we want to say, hey, we only get all because there's more than one records of address. Right? You're almost safe to go with get all, but if you don't go with get all for all of them, you end up with the problem of having to traverse through the whole array twice, right? But if you know that your data is gonna always resolve to 1, then you can go with the get array, right? Again. So phone, email, alright. And finally, roles equals and here we're going to say user roles. And then finally all roles, right? And we don't want to specify the where here because we want to get all the roles. Okay. Now this is a setup table, so we can ensure that we only have a limited number of rows in there because it's a setup table, right? It's just like it's business data. Okay. So now that we've assigned all of this, right, we can actually go and retrieve it now. Alright, so in the profile, in the index page, right, in our index page, we're going to load the entire content of the profile. So ob start is set ID echo user ID. Okay, we got the ID here. Right, you can comment this out. Comment that out. No, leave that. But here, because we're only gonna go and do our code if that is set, we're gonna say p equals new profile val, and then we're gonna pass in the ID. Now we're gonna have to include this profile DAL inside our system. So require once. You notice that we don't have to include the database, right? Because the database is already included in the profile DL page already, right? Because the database is already included there, included in this profile DAL. We have access to whatever that includes already. Okay. So that's a plus and a minus with PHP, because whatever subsequent classes you have before, you're going to include into your system. But that means that you're gonna have a lot of code, right? So you want to pick and choose what you want to include, because if that library that you're including includes a ton of other libraries, then all of a sudden your code base becomes super complex, right? So you want to make sure that you know what dependencies are within your code base before you do any inclusion of any library. Okay, so you always have to keep that in mind. All right, so what do we do here? We're just gonna set. We're gonna declare some local variables, right? So let's say profile equals p dot profile. So how am I able to do this, right? Well, I'm able to do this because the profile DAL already initializes all of my database calls, because it already did all of this work for you, and then it assigns it to all your variables here already, right? So essentially, by using this profile data access layer, we can directly access that data right here, right? So the next thing would be user, right, equals p dash user. So again, we already set the user, right, and the roles. Well, user roles. And it's okay to name it this way because it's only, remember that in PHP the accessors are only local. I mean, variable scope is pertains to only local unless you declare something explicitly global. So we can use the same names just to stay consistent, right? So is it user role? We'll make sure that it matches, right? User role. This doesn't match. Okay, user role. Okay. I could actually go roles here. Makes it easier. Email equals, okay, p dash email. And then address is p dash addresses. The phone equals, not phone equals p dash phone, just like that. And now you have access to all of the variables. Why did I do this? Well, I'm too lazy to retype all this, right? So now that we have this, we want to generate an interface, right? Again, you want to do something like this, but we want to test this first, right? So by testing this, all you have to do is actually go and refresh your page. So let's refresh it. Alright, so it loaded the page. There's nothing that shows up, but that's fine. That's we don't want errors to show up, right? As long as it shows up, then we're in good shape. Okay, so I can just say, now I can go and say div, right? Well, I can just go dot row, create a div class row, and then dot column, create a div class column, and then I can go dot card default. That creates a default card. I want this to have a style equals, I want to override the style to say min width 400 pixels, because I want it to pretty much align to the left of my page here. but not too big, because that could pretty much extend all the way across the page, right? So, alright, so by doing that, let's say, hey, that card header I just want to say, well, here I have access to all of the profile elements, right? I'm going to say first name. Right, and then I just go like this and say my profile. Right, so the card body. Right, so what this will give me is a pretty nice page actually. I'll just go like this, and there you go. This is my profile, right? Why not have a oh, just like that. It'll just be like that. So here you have an element here that's somewhat cool, I guess. So again, we can apply the same principles, apply the same code that we have here into there, right? So, but we want to lay it out a little bit differently, right? So we actually want to make it look a little bit prettier, I guess. So that's what you would say. So we can wrap everything in a paragraph, right? Because if we do a paragraph, then we could align the image properly to image class equals main profile equals pictures right, so the profile, this was a picture, right? So this should actually resolve. And then let's say alt is profile. Just like that. We save it. What do we have? There you go. It's displaying our picture. Now, you do have to add this class within your CSS, right? This profile picture class. Profile image. Keep in mind. So all I did was just pretty much have it with 100 and box shadow, right? So it'll draw an image that's 100 and then with a box shadow underneath it. Okay, so yep. I'll save this. Oops, this is in the wrong place. So if I put it inside here, then you'll actually see the card body itself, right? So if I go like this, there you go. It's wrapped inside the card body. Yeah, just keep in mind where you put that stuff. Alright, so if it's in the card body, then it'll show up like that, right? So again, we have access to all of our roles and users, stuff like that. So really, the rest of this interface is just building all of it, right? So again, you're just building the rest of the interface based on this code here. So based on this logic here. So you would add. So I'm going to save some time by just doing that. Okay. Okay, so here, all I did here was really just incorporate some PHP code into this to echo out all these things, right? Now I did use a label user ID equals profile user ID. This will come in play a little bit later on when we actually need to actually edit the profile. But you got the profile name, first name, last name, right? And then middle name, and then you got date of birth, you got username, whether the user is active, the last login, the color input, that's gonna be used later on too, and then yeah, you just and you're echoing out the output right here. Okay, so if you echo out the output, and then you just save it. And what does this do? Well, it creates this. Just like that. If you actually do this, you see that the text wraps. Because this is in a paragraph, it'll wrap nicely just like this. Right? Okay. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, so putting all this stuff in, okay. So the next step, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna have the ability to edit this page, right? So basically we're gonna wrap this inside of that row because we want a row here because we want to display the username on the left, and then we're gonna do column, and we're gonna copy this username into that column. Right. So once we do this, it should display a column there, and then we want to include another column, and then flow right. We want this other column to flow right, and then we'll go dot action item. Style goes text line right, just like that. Okay, so and now we want to pretty much put a button here. If you don't know anything about Font Awesome is something that you can pretty much decorate, right? Are pretty much a class of libraries that you can pretty much use to bring in icons, right? Standardized icons. So here we're gonna go class, right? FA, right? And then FA pencil, square. Oh, just like that. Title. What this title tag does is that when you hover over it, it'll tell you what the icon does. Okay, so what does this look like? Well, I'll save it. And go up here. Got this little icon up here. Okay. Now, how did I achieve this? Well, this action item class, right? This action item class has a padding of 5 width, and I changed the cursor to pointer as I hover over it. Well, when I go into the action item, and the cursor will be pointed, right? And then when I hover over it, I'm going to change the color to red so that you get this effect, right? You get this effect when you actually go into it. Then you click on it, it should take you to the edit page. But that's long story short. That's what it does. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay. All right. So the next portion of this is we're gonna add the emails to this. Okay. So adding the emails is pretty straightforward. You just have to pretty much go in. So we have the cards here. So we have this column here, right? So now we just go create another column. And then we're gonna say create card. Card header. Emails. And then body. Again, we want the same kind of heading on the second email here. Well, in the second edit thing here, right? And then we want to call this edit email, right? And then we're going to say edit the email. And then we change this to emails, right? And then card body is just the emails. Okay, so what do we have? Well, I'm going to look at it. So you have an emails table here, right? Again, you have the same elements, right? But this is okay. So after you do that, what do? With an email body here, we're going to use the same we're going to use the same thing as we did in our previous, right? To really build something similar along those lines here, right? So just like this. So we're going to copy this over, this whole table here over, right? And we're just going to put this in here, just like that. But instead of profile, right, we're going to adjust this to say email. We're just going to say only 3 columns. So first is going to be the type of email. The next will be the actual email itself. And then the third will be is a default email. All right? And then we're going to go for each, right, email, right? Because we're accessing the emails here, E, right? And then we're going to build our rows here. So the first element will be the type, right? But before we even do that, we want to say, is the email checked? Now, the checked functionality in HTML just simply is a word checked next to the checkbox if it's checked, right? So we're gonna mask that by doing this, right? Default equals 1, because in the database it's stored either as a 1 or a 0. So if it's equals to 1, then we're gonna say this will equal be checked. Oh, I keep typing that. Okay, it'll be checked. Okay. Otherwise, we're gonna say it's gonna be blank. Okay, and that's all you gotta do for the checked variable. Okay. So TRTD. So we don't need to span anymore. Right. We're simply gonna inject. I'm going to delete this and this. We're just going to use this as email type. Now, if you recall back to your table, emails, right, are simple. They're just email address, email type, and then whether or not it's default. Okay. So here, we can just say email type. We don't need the image, right? The next row would just be the email address. And then the final row would be input type equals checkbox, right? The equals email default, right? And whether or not it's checked. And then you wrap this up. That's pretty much it. You don't need to add any text to it because it's already under the column of that already, right? So all of this then you delete, right? So it's pretty simple, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, right. So you create a column, table. Again, you want to get rid of this tr, yeah, right? Because you're simply outputting all of this in it. Okay. So you don't need the tr. You're simply outputting this. Now for my profile, why do I still have the tr there? Because I don't even need this tr anymore. Okay. Now if I go back to Lab7, you have this really nice organization. You click through, and you'll notice that I have all these errors, right? Why do I have all these errors? Well, because I copied this over. These are R's instead of E's. Okay, so you just want to go E, right? E, E. And this should just be checked, right? Just like that. And when you refresh, should have something like that. No, are these necessarily default? Oh, it shouldn't be. No, why? You notice there's a big spacing around this table? Well, let's say you want to condense that a little bit, right? You just say style, right? equals padding to, let's set it to 3 pixels, right? You set that to 3 pixels, guess what happens? Right. Oh, she looks pretty nice now. You see? Pretty straightforward. Now, if you click on this, nothing will happen, of course, right? Because we haven't implemented click code yet. But we really don't want to do that. We just want to be able to edit this if we check these, okay? This will actually bring up a... Now, by default, Chrome will inject, like, for any email you have on the page, Chrome will inject a mail to it, all right? So yeah, this is looking nice, right? So now we have to implement the edit portion of this, which is a little bit more complex than you would think, right? So again, go back to the page, go through. You should land on this page. Again, go back. You see, it's dynamically loading every one of these, right? So Bruce, right? It's pretty neat. Okay, so we have it to this point, right? Then all right, so I'm gonna leave the rest for you to do. Okay. So here's the interface, right? You're retrieving the data and you're building a table off of it, right? So now we go back to the and then we're gonna build in the edit methods. Now it's a lot easier than you would think that it is, right? So basically, all you would really have to do is access these, right? So since you already have the ID, right? You already have the ID in here. Alright, ID equals user ID. I think that's what I called it. User ID. Then you wanna do just get the contents of it. Now in jQuery, all you have to do is just the HTML and grab whatever's inside of it, right? And then if let's say we clicked on the profile, again, our button here is called Edit Profile. So to be safe, you can actually go up here and say, hey, my action item is Edit Profile. Copy that, right? And then you go something like this, pound. Now in jQuery, to access something, you need to have the pound by ID. It's the same as document. This shorthand in jQuery is the same as documents dot get element by ID, right? Just like that. And then you would put in the edit profile, right? But here in jQuery, you can access the element directly by just doing this. And then you just want to say click, right? And within this click, you can go something like this. Again, that should be like that, right? And then you just want to go window dot location, because all this really does is just navigates to our edit profile page. equals plus ID. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. We do the same thing for the email, right? Except we just change this to email. Boom. Right, so now if I reload this page, right, and I click here, it goes to my edit profile page, right? And then if I do here, it actually loads my email page, all right? Again, all of this built. So the next step would be to build the two email and profile pages. Now this is a pretty extensive lab, so you could take a break here and then implement the edit functions after. But here we're gonna build the site in this page here, so that you can actually do the editing here and stuff like that. Now you see that this is a little bit different because our our methods are a little bit different than the other thing. So again, to do the edit profile, right? We're actually gonna get rid of everything. Okay, so we'll start from scratch. Okay, so again, we want to bring in the standard code. So the standard code to build page would be something like this. Again, you got your profile DAL. Again, if you notice that in our index page, we're doing the same thing here, right? So we're bringing the profile DAL. So you copy everything here from here, and then you can load it right into here. And then just change this to edit, right? Again, you want to pull in the ID because we're passing in the ID anyways, right? So then the profile DAL, well, our edit profile, well, I mean, in our index, right? We actually just do this at the very end, right? We want to do this at the beginning. So if it's set ID, right? And then we actually just want to go in here. You see, I'm doing a lot of copy and paste here, right? So we just say profile is a new profile. And then we just want to copy these two. Copy these three, actually. Go here, boom. Okay. And now, when we go to our profile, it actually looks like this. It's nothing in there because we haven't done anything yet, right? So, yep. So now, we actually want to create a profile page. By doing this, we can just say, because all of this is set, we just go like this, and then PHP. Again, when you create a break, you always want to include the PHP code in there, right? So now you can go, hey, I want to create a card default, right? Should be dash here. Okay. And then we want to do card. Notice that I don't need the edit button here anymore, so I just go We can actually just copy this code here, right? Just like this. Paste it right in, just like that. Card body. Right. And our first one, and then in here we're gonna do a row, right? I'm gonna do a column, and then we're gonna say, we'll create another part in here. And here we're gonna so there we need a footer, right? So card body, card footer, okay. Again, and the card body, we just want the image. So here we just go say, slow the profile image. So we just go create a new image. ID equals profile picture class goes main profile. Again, we already did that earlier. The src equals pictures. Again, it's the same code as before. It's just a little bit different because we're doing this inside HTML instead of PHP, right? So again, we got profile and then picture. Just like that. This, okay, and then expose your picture. All right, should be good. We can have the alt here. Our footer. On the footer, we actually want to put a button here. This says button side equals button, and then we'll pass equals btn primary. If you use data toggle, it's a modal. All right, so this is gonna be our modal launcher, right? To really really is to launch a modal that allows us to upload the image, and we'll look into this a little bit later. Right, so we call the upload image. I want to save this. We should auto format. So when I go here and I refresh the page, it'll do this, except it doesn't look good. So did I put it in the wrong place? Card header, card body. I didn't close it. So that. Boom, boom, boom. No. Boom, boom, boom. That's not it. Oh, let's end with the slash. That would do it. Nope, still gone. What's going on? There. Profile picture. What's going on? Task main profile. Pictures. Profile picture. Oh, I didn't test those to the tag. Okay, let's see that. Card. Card body. Oh, this div. That's why. My fault. Alright, so it looks like this though. So this is an image, right? And now we have to create the other fields. So because we put in the side of the column, we need to create another column. Okay, so dot column. Right, and then now we create another field. And then we'll put this under here. There's a warning. Let's put it up here. Put it inside here. I don't like it there either. Let's do this. Put outside of this. A bit better. Okay. All right, so all right, and then column itself. Let's start with a form group. Okay. Okay. Before that, before we do any of this, right? We actually want to do this. I should go up here and say, the third form up here. Method post, encryption type, equals multi-part. Okay, so We'll wrap the whole class into this. Just like that. Okay. So wrapping the whole div in that, and then we're gonna go first form group. Right, we're just gonna go input type equals hidden, and this is our user ID. So we need to capture this so that we can actually uh, have the right user ID when we actually do a post. Okay. ID equals user ID, name equals. Now keep in mind that when you do a form post, it only grabs the name. So if you don't have this name element in it, you won't be able to see it when you actually do a post. Value equals, of course, the user ID, and then close that out. And then just go user. Just like that. The next section will be create a label. For first name. Okay. And then let's say first. Okay. Then we'll have ID equals input type equals text. Right. Okay. And then we'll say class equals control. Then ID equals first name, and then name equals first name, and then this folder. What's our first name? Our validation would be required, right? It's just numerical, alpha, so it doesn't matter what kind it is. And then our value equals, of course, the first name. All right, so here we go. And then finally, we're gonna have the small equals. Again, this correlates with this here. So this will place this text right underneath it. So what does it do? Okay. All right. So when we refresh the page, so we have again you see it's seated with our first name in here already. So we just have to repeat this for all the other fields, right? And I'm going to do that by just basically doing it all at once. Okay, so the next two, we get this. Again, this is a built-in tool, built-in date tool. So if you specify this as a date, then it'll automatically use this built-in calendar. Okay, again, pretty simple, straightforward. Okay, and now we can create another column. Again, go column, and then we're gonna do the colors here. So we'll do a row here. We'll split it into 3 columns. The first is gonna have a color. Again, we'll have a form group. This first one. Or 4 color. Color. Okay. Right. Then that equals color. Value equals again profile, and then just like that. So that's now when we refresh it, you should have a color button up here, and that will allow you to set the colors. Pretty simple, right? And neat. Okay. And now the color's done. We can go to the next row. Now we actually want to do a checkbox here. So, and we're going to put this into another column within this row here. Right, and then form. Now, form check is a specific class within Bootstrap, right? It creates a checkbox output. So input checkbox. Again, this is a Bootstrap class. And then again, this check variable could be actually grabbed from up here. So we can say, checked equals it's like this. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna refresh this. Uh, this active doesn't exist, so into the profile. It's in user actually. Hmm. Okay, so we're gonna do that. There you go. Whether it's active or not, right? So, yep, we can check that on and off now, right? And then the final piece is the about. Now with the about, I pulled in this pretty cool class called TinyMCE. You don't really necessarily have to do this, but in order to do it, you actually have to go out to the TinyMCE site, right? So Tiny, and you just have to pretty much sign up for one, right? For an API key. So I go sign in. Once you sign up, you'll be presented with a key. Okay, so once I log into Tiny Cloud, I should have this API key and just copy it, and then you include the Tiny Cloud CDN into your library, right? So all you gotta do is pretty much go back to your setup here, your config here, and then pretty much copy that CDN into this into the last value here, right? And that should be part of your scripts that you load up in your header every time. And then once you do that, you can come back here, and yeah, all you gotta do is come back here, and then right, you can apply the Tiny MCE stuff to it. So, but that's besides the point. All right, so this next one, I'm just gonna create a text box here. Okay. You'll see that it's not really that difficult to do. All right. So in this last column, I'm gonna go card default card header. All right. So if I do card header here, all right, and then I'm just gonna say about me. All right, and then I'm just gonna create a card body, right? And then I'll put a text area in there. In text area, I'm gonna call that um, style equals. I don't want it to be too tall, so I'm just go height equals 300 pixels, right? And then I will set the ID equal to about, and name equal to about. These are the names that are going to be passed to my PHP thing, okay? Now here I'm just gonna do a PHP call. And I'm just gonna echo my L2BR. Again, this is the lingo in PHP to pretty much translate whatever you're stored in there to a proper format when you upload it, right? And then again, this is gonna be the about content in my profile. And then that's all I gotta do, and then I'm just gonna wrap this up. And that's it. Right, so right now, if I refresh this page, I get something like this, right? Oh, let me do this. This closes out a column, and then this closes out the row. Alright, so kind of like that. Alright, that way this be underneath here, and then the width here will be 100%, but it doesn't show here. But when we actually implement the TinyMCE down the bottom here, and to implement TinyMCE, all we gotta do is just use this lingo here. So put a script here. Says boom, just like that. Now again, you can go to the TinyMCE webpage here, see exactly how they do it, but really, it's just this implementation here. Now you can include all of these plugins and stuff like that, but we're not doing that. We're just gonna do something really simple. We're just gonna pretty much use TinyMCE for just simple text editor. When I reload the page, well, I'll have to save it first. But once that TinyMCE plugin is instantiated, right? If I load the page, I get this nice edit text box. You see before you, just like this. Right, pretty straightforward. Again, I can make these a little bit smaller, right? So let's say I want to change the output so that my second column here isn't so well, my third column here isn't so small, right? So let's say I want to change the output. I can just go into my code and say, that's still a bit too small, so I want to change it so that it's bigger, right? So I want to say, this third column here, right? Second column, this third column here, let's just say, style equals. So just by modifying the CSS in there, right? And just go min width, right? You know, 800 pixels. So what does that do, right? Well, by doing that, we shrink everything else and make this prominent, right? Okay, so that looks good. The layout looks good, right? So even if I compress a little bit, right, my my right side there still stays big. If the page is even smaller, this naturally flows down to the bottom and it looks even better, right? So again, it's pretty neat, right? So just like this. And it's fully responsive, of course, right? So just like that. All right, so the last piece of this UI is, of course, the footer. So if I save this, okay, so now I have this set up like this. Let's do one last thing, which is footer. That card footer. All right, so in this footer, what are we gonna do? We're gonna add a button. button down here. Says it saves everything. So we put an input button here. This is our submit form button. The value is going to be save. Otherwise, the button here is going to be button danger and cancel button, and this will just take us back to the previous page. All right. So when we do this, we end up with this account. We end up with this nice little footer on the bottom here. All right. So when we go cancel, it'll take us back to the page. When we go save, it submits form. Right now it does nothing, but saves. We should really save this data. Okay.